This time on Film Ranker, we are looking at The Evil Dead. There are two kinds of people in the world, those who love The Evil Dead and those who haven't seen it yet. With 4 movies and a TV show under its belt and more hinted for the future, the franchise that started as a B-movie about a cabin in the woods has become a cultural touchstone for horror fans. There really has not been a misstep, but some entries are still better than others, so let's count them down from worst to best. Number 5. Ash vs. The Evil Dead. Like the main character, the TV show does feel a bit late to the party, but even with a few more wrinkles and a bit more beer gut, this is a story we're pretty happy to keep following even after it gets dropped off at the home, which kinda would make it Bubba Hotep. There is still some decent gore, particularly in Season 2, and Ash's new Scooby Squad is mostly likable, but the pacing is a bit off, with some episodes racing through the story while others feel maybe a little bit pointless. It is well worth a watch, but it can't quite live up to the movies. Number 4. Evil Dead 2013. Fans of the franchise were worried about the new film, particularly after a slew of not very good remakes of 70s and 80s favorites that came out before it. Luckily, of all the dozen or so Too Slick Oddies remakes, this is the one that actually delivers on its promise. Partly because it turned out to be more of a sequel than a remake. There's no Bruce Campbell, or Bruce Campbell-like character, or Bruce Campbell one-liners, but what there is are some genuine scares, a solid new lead, and a very cool claustrophobic movie that is soaked in buckets and buckets of blood. I cannot overstate how much blood there is. There is a lot. Number 3. Army of Darkness. The third part of the original trilogy takes plenty of risks, and for the most part, they work. Ash is sent back to the Middle Ages, where he has to fight a bunch of miniature Ashes, a full-sized evil Ash, and a whole army of Deadites. It fully leans into the comedy elements and generally favors action over horror for the climactic moments, and it all works because it is both funny and rad. Even though much of the plot is insane on paper, the movie makes sense as the conclusion of the trilogy, finishing the genre arc from horror to comedy. I just wish they had kept that amazing original ending. Number 2. Evil Dead. The original film is the purest horror film of the original trilogy, and it is legitimately scary. Made with a shoestring budget by friends Raimi and Campbell, it is still one of the go-to examples of how to make a great first film with no money. The effects are cheap, clever, and effective. The story is simple, but with enough depth to spawn a franchise, and the style is memorable. It helps that Campbell has enough charisma to choke a horse, but Raimi does a great job of making the cabin, the woods, and every creepy thing in them interesting enough that we can happily watch it mess with all of the 5 campers. Number 1. Evil Dead 2. While Evil Dead doesn't have enough Bruce Campbell humor, and Army of Darkness maybe has a bit too much, Evil Dead 2 gets that balance exactly right. The sequel takes everything the original did well and does it better. The scares, the effects, the camera work, everything feels like the team has had 6 years to learn, because they have. But the biggest addition is Ash Williams' progression from sometimes freaked out, sometimes cocky cabin survivor to hilariously over-the-top confident killer of Deadites. The story is great. Raimi's direction is bang on, but it is Campbell's one-liners and swagger that make this movie the perfect 10 cult classic that it is. And that's it. Let me know what your numbers 2 to 5 are, or if you think something is better than Evil Dead 2, explain yourself. And as always, please like and subscribe, and maybe check out some of the other videos on the channel, and hopefully I'll see you all next time.